The IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship has no shortage of changes going into the 2025 season. With new teams, new drivers, and most importantly, new cars, it's a total toss-up knowing how the year may unfold. So today, I wanted to have some fun. Let's rank some of your predictions for the 2025 season. I'm going to break these up into classes, starting with the one commented about most, GTP. Easily the most notable change with the GTP class this year is the introduction of the Aston Martin Valkyrie, with the heart of racing entering one from Sebring onwards. A couple of you called for a solid debut season for the Valkyrie, with a sprint race victory and a second place finish in the championship. I think this is a bit of a tough one to gauge. On one hand, we're talking about a team that has won a GTD championship in 2022, finished second in GTD Pro last year, and an expected driver pairing of Ross Gunn and Roman DeAngelis, both of whom have multiple class wins to their name, but no prior experience racing in the top class GTP or hypercar ranks. I personally think this season's going to start out slow for the Valkyrie. They're a couple years behind most of their competitors, and with only 4 GTP sprint races on the calendar, I'd say maybe Road America is the best chance we have at this becoming true. As for finishing second in the championship, there's no word on whether that applies to the team or manufacturer's title, but in either case, overcoming the possible 385-point deficit they'll have for missing Daytona would be a monumental effort to accomplish. I don't see this one turning out, but perhaps the heart of racing has some surprises in store for us. Some of you had things to say about Lamborghini for their second season in GTP, with a couple of you saying this new season will fare better for them than 2024. I'll take it that Lamborghini could finish on the podium this season, especially after a strong showing at Indianapolis last year. Lamborghini definitely needs to improve consistency with their SC63 though, especially if they want to win endurance races. Last year, it seemed the car had potential for great pace, but it was often only in specific conditions while it sat fairly quiet for the rest of the weekend. The reliability for Lamborghini seems to be there. We'll just need to see how long it takes their new backing from Riley to get up to speed. I'm thinking Watkins Glen, Indianapolis, and Petit Le Mans will probably provide their best chances at a podium. But a reasonable showing at Daytona and Sebring alongside could very well put them in the picture for the Michelin Endurance Cup as well. Let's talk about Wayne Taylor Racing and Meyer Shank Racing, both of whom are returning to a familiar past, with Wayne Taylor Racing reuniting with Cadillac and Meyer Shank Racing back in the series with Acura. Bit of a mixed bag with these two. Some of you said both teams will need time to find results with their new factory outfits. Another said Meyer Shank will return to their old ways with a championship winning season out the gate. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I think this change is going to benefit both manufacturers and their teams. Wayne Taylor Racing is no doubt a championship-capable team in IMSA, but they started playing second best behind Meyer Shank Racing, especially with the changeover to the ARX06 in 2023. And while they did pull off a pair of wins at Sebring and Detroit in 2024, they only finished 5th and 6th in the championship. They've been ever so close to a championship 5 times since 2018, and I believe this 2-car program with Cadillac could seal the deal. Unfortunately for them, I would say the exact same about Meyer Shank Racing, who would have walked away with the 2023 title if it weren't for their penalty from Daytona. They may have been absent for the past year, but with a now 2-car program and full backing from Acura, I expect big things out of that camp this year. Either way you go, I'm putting both teams on my short list of possible champions at season's end. But if there's one team that may get in the way for both of them, it would be the Porsche-Penske duo. As last year's teams and manufacturers champions in GTP, it's hardly surprising that someone picked them again, this time with Car 6 winning the championship. Make no mistake, Porsche has all the cards in their favor this season. They had unmatched consistency last year, and are getting some minor car upgrades for 2025. The main change for that team this season is on the driver front, with Matt Campbell coming over from the WEC program in car number 6, and Nick Tandy switching to car 7 to replace Dane Cameron. Jaminet and Campbell are the younger of the 2 driver lineups, and with the addition of the extremely quick Kevin Estre for the longer endurance races, that team should certainly be in the picture for the championship. Staying with Porsche, we also have the Privateer 963s from JDC and Proton, and someone said one of those teams win a race this year. There's definitely some precedent for this, as Jota managed to win with one of their customer 963s in the WEC 6 Hours of Spa last year, and JDC themselves won the 12 Hours of Sebring back in 2021. They also put down an impressive opening stint at Watkins Glen last year, solidifying the potential that Privateer outfits have alongside their factory counterparts. With Proton only racing in the Michelin Endurance Cup races this year, JDC may be the most likely team to deliver that first Privateer GTP win. And given some of the performances that we saw last year, that first win might not have to wait too long. Last one for GTP, quite a few of you said this would be the year for BMW. from winning the Rolex 24 to being the strongest rival against Porsche for the championship. The first 2 seasons for the M Hybrid V8 have been, well, average at best. They had a technicality win in the 6 Hours of the Glen in 2023, and a much more definitive 1-2 finish last year at Indianapolis. It seems BMW have struggled most to be consistently fast between races, something that has resulted in a best championship finish of 6th back in 2023. But what BMW does have is a stable team behind them in Rahal Letterman Lanigan. With Cadillac and Lamborghini both having new teams behind them, and Acura's year-long hiatus with Meyer Shank, BMW Team RLL sits with only Porsche Penske and Whelen Cadillac Racing as the only 2 teams to remain put since 2023. And while they aren't my top pick for a Rolex 24 win or IMSA championship, if they can capitalize on consistent results, they'll be one to keep an eye on. How about LMP2? Only one prediction here, but it's a good one. Inter Europol will win the championship again. This is a very interesting team to keep an eye on this season. On one hand, you have the return of Tom Dillman, who was half the championship winning run in 2024. On the other, you have the surprise return of John Field, who hasn't ever raced in Oreca 07 before, but was responsible for some of the most iconic opening lap drives and ruthless overtaking ability in the American Le Mans Series over 15 years ago. Field may be 69 years old now, but longtime North American sports car racing fans are eager to see how he stacks up against his former self. They'll also be joined by 2024 Le Mans LMP2 winner Bijoy Garg for the endurance rounds, and Porsche factory driver Antonio Felix da Costa for Daytona. Without question, they have one of the most interesting driver lineups in IMSA this year, and only time will tell if they can make it 2 for 2. Moving on to GTD Pro, we had a classic IMSA championship battle down to the final hour of Petit Le Mans in this class last year between the AO Porsche and Heart of Racing Aston Martin. One of you suggested AO Racing will back up that championship run with a win in the Rolex 24 at Daytona this year, but fall short of winning the championship again. Look, I'm absolutely not one to count them out for their first Daytona win. They were runner-up last year in GTD Pro, and with a stacked lineup of Porsche factory drivers behind them this year, there's no reason they aren't in contention. I also think they'll be one of the championship favorites again. I'm personally hoping for a title battle with former Porsche team Pfaff with their new Lamborghini. Or maybe it'll be Corvette Racing with their first IMSA championship since 2021, specifically Car 3 driven by Antonio Garcia and Danny Juncadella. This will be the second season for the Z06 GT3R after one that started out rocky for Corvette in the first half of last season, although they were ultimately able to pick up a handful of podiums and their first win with the new car at CTMP last year. I think you may be right that momentum is on their side now for a proper championship run. But what about the other guys from Detroit? Ford. It was a similar story for them last year, with a brand new car and the first Mustang built to GT3 regulations. They had an especially tough time with durability at the start of the season, but by season's end they were able to claim a pair of second place finishes for Car 64 in GTD Pro. This year, the Proton Mustang in the GTD class is being replaced by Gradient Racing, and I wouldn't completely rule out either them or the Multimatic GTD Pro team finding their first win this year. They seem to be a bit behind the improvements Corvette made at the end of 2024, so I'm a little bit less optimistic about a championship run, but at least a win? Definitely not off the cards. Last up, GTD. Starting out strong here with another championship pick, Turner Motorsport will win the title with drivers Robbie Foley and Patrick Gallagher in Car 96. It's been 11 years since Turner last won an IMSA championship, back during the first year of series unification in 2014. But they weren't far off the mark last year, picking up a race win at Road America and finishing second in the championship. This will be their 16th season racing in the top series of IMSA. Veterans of the sport, no question. I quite like this call. We're going to turn the tides a bit here to one of the newer teams in IMSA, Iron Dames. Let's keep it $150. The past 2 IMSA seasons for the team have been very disappointing. As a Michelin Endurance Cup only team, they've had pace and led races, but there's always a reliability fault or race-ending accident taking them out of the fight. So much so that in the 9 IMSA races they've run between 2023 and 2024, they've only finished in the top 10 once. This season though, things might change. They're in a new car, switching from Lamborghini to a Proton-run Porsche, one that has already shown them more love in the European Le Mans Series. Might they be third-time lucky in their third Michelin Endurance Cup endeavor? I'm certainly optimistic for a redemption story. Bringing us nicely to our final prediction. Robert Wickens gives all of us a feel-good story in his new Corvette GTD drive for DXDT Racing. What more do I really need to say? Robert's already been a fan favorite in the Michelin Pilot Challenge with Hyundai since his debut in 2022. This year, he's making the step up to the ultra-competitive GTD class for the IMSA Sprint Cup rounds, thanks to an adaptation of Bosch's new hand control system. The Corvette GT3 car has about twice as much power as the Hyundai TCR car. It's rear-wheel drive as well, more akin to Robert's DTM pass than anything he's been in since. But make no mistake, whether it's a top 5, podium, or even a race win, it would definitely be one of the standout stories at the end of the season. And well, that's it. Your predictions for the 2025 IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. Didn't get a chance to be featured in the video but still want some of yours out? Drop them in the comments. Over on the left, you can check out more of my endurance racing videos, and my live podcast talking about IMSA and the WEC with Often the S's is over on the right. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.